welcome to the Low Tide Boyz, a Swimrun podcast. I am Chip.
And I'm Chris, and we're here today to talk about all things Swimrun Shoes. But we have two people with us who know way more about this than we do. Annie and Brooke from Team Swimrun Lab. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you again for being our phone-a-friend for the Swimrun Shoe Shoedown, as we're calling it. Loosely
That's right.
titled the Shoedown or a
The
Roundtable.
Shoedown. Yeah.
We were doing gear reviews and we thought, okay, it's easy to kind of do one wetsuit model like the Blue 70 Alliance suit that we did or the Arc Keel Poo Buoy, but shoes are tough because to align 4 different people to use the same thing, same shoe is dare I say, an impossibility. So we thought we would just provide everybody for some good tips, considerations for buying the best swimrun shoe for you.
Yeah, so we'll just keep it general at the beginning, sort of general considerations about what you want to look for in swimrun shoes. Spoiler alert, you don't want them to hold water like they're a teacup. And then we're going to talk specifically about each leg, swim, run, transitions. And then we're just going to do a roundtable where the 4 of us are going to talk about all the shoes that we've tried, just to give you a sense of, because we've done some minimal, some maximal. Yeah. People have some strong opinions. So we hope that you find that valuable when you're making your decision.
Let's just jump into it. So we'll kick these off with a couple. So general considerations for buying a swimrun shoe. I think on the top of this list, if not one of the top things, is probably drainage. Is everyone in agreement with this comment?
Top 3. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm going to say probably tread / grippiness, the non-technical term, what sort of lugs that these shoes have or what sort of tread that you're needing. The cushioning, for the running aspect.
Stack height, if you're one of those.
Yeah, millimeter stack height, buoyancy. So do they sink like a big couple cinder blocks tied to your feet, or they float up like you got balloons on? And that exhausts my list. The Swimrun Labs, Annie and Brooke, what do you think? Any other general considerations for these swimrun shoes?
I think you nailed it. Good fit. And that's highly personal.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah. I think the only other, besides drainage, it's also how sort of sloshy the shoes get. Because the shoes can drain, but if when you're testing them, your feet are sliding around and just everything feels kind of wet, if the event's really long, I mean, one of the things I hear, I'm going to get blisters. Like, how do you not get blisters? And that hasn't really been a problem, I think, because you're kind of wearing like the right shoes. But that's for another episode if we're talking about socks. So
I guess.
Stay tuned for that.
Also say, I don't know how you classify this, but like, if you get like really mesh shoes that have good drainage, they also allow like sand and dirt in.
Yeah.
Particle size permeability, I think, is the metric we're looking about there.
I love you guys.
Yeah.
You know what? You
Membrane
literally
permeability.
you stole the word right out of my mouth.
I'm going to change my internet password because no one will be able to spell that.
Right. If you can't spell it right twice in a row, then no hacker will guess it.
You won't get into your account.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna hack into Chris's Wells Fargo account. All right, so let's kick this off with the swim. And Annie, you were gonna kick that off for us.
Oh my gosh. The swim. Okay, to be honest, I do not think anyone should pick a running shoe, swim running shoe even, for its qualities on the swim. I could give a dang how my shoe performs while I'm swimming, because fact is I am swimming with shoes on. And they're still shoes at the end of the day. Like buoyancy this, buoyancy that, you're still wearing shoes. And they are creating a lot of drag. And that's just like a known factor. I would say it's a constant in swim run. And so I personally don't consider their performance on the swim whatsoever.
So I have a question for you. So if I were to rephrase that, the shoes should at least be a non-factor in the water.
Exactly.
Like neutral.
It's just like you're wearing shoes. You got to deal with that reality,
So there's
that
more
constant
important factors to like think about maybe than how they perform in the swim. Is that right?
Yeah, like I think there was some, like I got excited a while back thinking like, I can wear, shoes with a really big midsole and create like some extra lower body buoyancy. But fact is, like, if your feet are floating up, it does nothing for your ideal swim position because that's driven from your hips.
Didn't you like put little shoe floaties on your laces one year?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I just felt like I was wearing pom-poms on my feet.
Or like penny loafer, the little loafers that had the little.
Yeah,
but I don't think there was a performance enhancing quality. So yeah, I would say just neutrality in the water. You don't want to feel annoyed.
Yeah,
I
think that's good. I would say in terms of buoyancy, there's definitely shoes that'll feel more buoyant than others. We'll talk about this later, but Hokas, because they have such a thick stack height in the soles, like the bottoms, your soles are basically sticking out of the water, which some of that suboptimal position could probably mitigated if you have like a big old pool buoy that's kind of straightening everything out anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think, as we mentioned, the semi-permeable membrane layer. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sure.
Or close enough to call it a win here. You also want to make sure that kind of goes both ways. So as you are swimming, as sort of water is like flowing into your shoe, that it's also able to kind of exit. And it's not almost like you got two little mini parachutes on your feet.
Yeah.
That I think that would be something to consider. Now, I remember when Chris and I first got into Swimrun, we were like, found these one shoes, or we're saving that.
Let's save it. Let's
Oh
save
my
that for the
gosh.
roundtable.
Okay.
About
I'll try to save it.
and it's my fault because I brought a specific shoe into this already,
Damn
so
it,
I'm
Chris.
sorry. Let's just keep this general and not talk about specific attributes of shoes until we get to the point later. So everyone's going to have to wait for that.
So
there is and I won't mention the specific shoe, but it sounds like there's technology out there that is exactly what you're saying, Chip, to allow water to kind of come in and then flow out
yes.
Yeah.
Kind of like boats that do that. Don't the boats do that? Like suck water up and.
Oh, like the
like jet skis?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like a jet ski,
like a jet boat.
Ski. Yeah.
Oh.
I think that's illegal in the Atala rules.
It doesn't
Unless you
say-
carry it on the run.
He can't have a jet boat.
What that would be.
Well,
jet skis.
there's no rule on that, but as long as your pool buoy isn't more than 30 centimeters by 35 by 20.
You have mini shoe jet skis. That's legit.
So I think the Low Tide Boyz and the Swimrun Labs are in co-agreement that you should not buy your Swimrun shoe based on its swim performance alone.
Yes. If anything, the shoe should just be a non-issue in the water. You're wearing shoes. You got to get used to that. Every swim runner has to deal with that.
Yeah.
There could be features of the shoe if you're kind of like debating between a couple different shoes. There could be features that you might gravitate towards.
And those would be like the drainage, tread, maybe cushion, or buoyancy.
Yeah,
kind of all those
some
things that
shoes
we-
have like a sock type thing to
The
keep.
sole color. I thought that's
Oh,
an
yeah.
interesting feature.
Yeah.
That was really good that Asher Clark of Viva
Yeah.
Barefoot mentioned that they...
Episode 23.
Wow, good job, Chris. Yeah, that they specifically made the bottoms of their shoes this really, really vibrant, like almost neon orange color so that you could easily keep your eyes on your partner's feet when they're in front of you on a swim run.
Yeah,
And I was
Annie,
like, that's next level genius.
what do you feel about that? Like being the person behind me, like is not.
Oh, that was a little bit of a
Wow.
humble brag right there. I love it.
We're spicy tonight.
How do you
It's like
feel
1
about
point.
me towing you around.
One point
everywhere?
on the board.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that for you?
I love associating a bright color with being towed.
Okay.
I like it.
Well, that's
It
okay.
helps me stay aware that Brooke's a faster swimmer than me.
Then I will spray paint my shoes.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. We'll keep that for the aftermarket DIY mod section later. So let's move on to the run, where shoes are excel. on
They're
the
way
run.
more important on the run.
Yeah, they're pretty important.
They're pretty
on the ride.
important on the run. I'm gonna say this statement, and I'm gonna hear what everyone kind of thinks of this. That if you're looking for a new pair of Swimrun shoes, a good place to start should probably just be what shoes you run with on the trails now.
Yeah,
Yep.
I would give it a little bit of caveat to
Okay.
that. I think if you have trail shoes, that's a good place to start. Pretty much every swim run that we've done, there's been a high percentage of trails, if not all trails.
Yep.
So you want something with a little bit more tread on the bottom.
You also don't know what, like if you, start with like what you have and what you love and test them in the water. But you also don't know what you're missing out on until you try other shoes and test them in the water. Because like our first swim run race, I didn't even own a pair of trail shoes and borrowed, what did I borrow from our friend? Do you remember? They were like...
They were the Brooks Pure Grit.
Oh, Brooks Pure Grit.
Those are trail...
those are trail
kind
shoes.
of minimal.
Yeah. So I borrowed those from a friend, did our first swim run, and they were so slushy. But I didn't know. I had a great time. Like I thought they were excellent. And then I ran in I did swim runs in my current shoe, and it was like a world of difference in terms of drainage and how light they were. So it's a good place to start, but you got to also measure it against some other stuff to know is this how it's supposed to? Because people just assume it's going to be slushy, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
Does
exactly.
not have to be. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that makes perfect sense.
That's
It's
a
like
great
the sport can get expensive pretty quickly if you start geeking out on stuff. Check your shoes out. Again, this water bucket test, I think is a good one. Just put your shoe, submerge it in water and bring it back up and just watch it drain.
Yeah, like fill your sink up, like
does it drain? that'd be question number one. If
Right.
yes,
Okay.
how quickly?
First rule of swim running shoes: do not buy a Gore-Tex shoe.
Yeah, waterproof isn't your friend.
Don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, waterproof means it's
Probably going to keep it
water
in.
can't get in.
It's a
it also
teacup.
can't get out.
Yeah, so if it gets in, it's not coming out.
Yeah, that's a good point too. So, okay, for the run, you also, for some of these longer, especially a World Series course or even the Atala World Championship, I mean, you're running 20, 30, 40 miles.
41 miles with a half marathon, like at the very end.
Yeah.
And so you have to make sure that if you're running that's a lot of time on your feet that you don't want, if you want to make sure that your feet are going to be in a good place when you're hitting that half marathon. That's like the second to last leg after you've been racing for 8 hours.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you have to make sure, some brands are pretty minimal if you're not used to that or comfortable running like that. I mean, I think it was the Swimrun monks way back when we had them on. They were talking about when they did the World Championship, they basically had the wrong shoes. So their dogs were barking for half the race.
Oof.
I mean, when something's that long, that's...
ouchie.
It's not fun.
Ouchie.
And consider the terrain. So, some races have a lot of street cement or kind of dirt road component. Others, more technical trail, a little softer maybe.
Yeah.
What do they call that? Knoll run or
Fell running.
fell running? Yes, thank you.
That's like what the Brits call it.
Yeah. Fell running just sounds so like soft and squishy to me, like they're running over the hills of England or something.
Like they're running to Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, to Hobbiton.
Yeah.
No,
Is that what it?
that's where the hobbits are from.
Well, that makes sense.
I'm sorry.
I think we've had our
Bring you
first
guys
Lord of
back.
the Rings reference on the show. Yeah, so running, we want to obviously you need to make sure that you can run in these shoes, that they do shed water, because as we sort of transition to the things you should consider for transitions, you're going to be coming from being inside of a body of water to outside said body of water.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you're not bringing as little water as you can with you when you go to start your run.
Yeah, and I would say if I can speak for the Swimrun Labs, I think it's all about testing. Like whatever it is you have, test it, put it through the paces, do a couple transitions, and just see what you think is going to work.
And test it on various terrain,
Yeah.
and do some like really slippery transitions out there.
Some great tests. Chris mentioned the water bucket test, and if you want to go even a little bit more nerdy on that, you could like take a kitchen scale or something and just dunk your shoe in water, like weigh it when it's dry, weigh it when you've dunked it in water, like
So smart.
Immediately upon pulling it out, then kind of hang it from the clothesline or dangle it and let it drain for 2 minutes and then weigh it. And so that's like, 2 minutes of running with like heavy sponges on your feet. It's not the best, but if you can get most of that weight gone in 2 minutes, that's a pretty good deal for your shoe. So that's a good test you can do. And then get your shoes wet and try like scrambling over rock, scrambling over a technical trail, including like wood and roots. and try running on just like a pavement surface, and that's a great way to sort of, without really leaving your town, get some great data points about how this shoe's going to do.
I think the point is really well taken
points.
of just trying it in different terrain. Like if you're using a trail shoe, because they usually have more tread or lugs on the bottom, you actually don't have as much surface contact. So anything, if you're on pavement or something, and if it's wet, you're just going to be slipping around. So
yeah, and not every transition is a perfect beach like you might see in Moana. At Casco Bay, there's rocks with algae that you're slipping on and everything. So the transitions are very varied. And then you also have the transition on the other side, right? Coming into the water, are you going to feel that you can trust your shoes, whether it's the lugs or whatever grippiness you have on it? If you just come barreling like a water buffalo straight into
Well, I
the
have
ocean.
another consideration for you. When you're going into the water and you're on the beach, are you just getting loaded up with rocks? Like if you have the wrong shoes, you can get super loaded up with rocks. Like the more like specific, quote unquote specific swimrun shoes have like a sock that kind of prevents that. It's almost like
it
a
looks
built-in
like a gator.
gator.
Yeah.
Which
like a neoprene booty
yeah,
almost looking thing that goes up to your ankle. I haven't seen that on too many shoes, I will say.
Yeah, but I think that I remember.
That's a cool feature.
I remember when we did Casco Bay. There was like basically 10 different types of beaches that we hit, like pebble beaches, super scary like deep hole beaches, algae, mossy beaches,
kelp beaches,
everything, right? And when we did the last run, I had so many rocks in my shoes. I was almost like, "Hey, Chipper, do you want to do like a rock break?" And he was like, "No, let's just finish this."
Which, Chris, it comes down to your shoes, because Brooke and I had the same thing. Brooke did not have rocks in her shoes, and I was like smuggling an ounce of every one of those 10 beaches in my shoes.
You're like starting a collection.
Yeah.
It was not cool.
Geologist.
And I know. I didn't want to keep those rocks any second longer. So I took a rock break, and it was about 2 minutes, which was about the time that we were off the podium. So it pays to get a Swimrun shoe with particle permeability. What was that thing I said?
Particle impermeability, water permeability.
Correct.
Yes.
But just back to the gator idea, saying that there's not like very many shoes out there on the market with gators. What do you guys think about just adding your own, adding your own? Because they have gators out there for running.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking too, on the swim, it would kind of create less drag because you have that smooth transition from your ankle to the shoe.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thought.
You know what? That's almost like I'm just going to put it out there. I'm just going to open source this. Those
yes,
cycling,
let's do it.
You know those cycling booties that you wear when it's something
when it's
like
cold.
that. Yeah.
Like a cleat cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Someone needs
but it
to
kind of just covers
that.
the front.
Yeah.
Make you more aero in the water.
And
more aerodynamic.
I also thought
Arc
about
Sports,
this,
are you taking
and
notes?
I hate to go back on the swim part, but if you can, you want to make sure your shoelaces aren't, if we're talking about like gains, you don't want your shoelaces dangling off like jelly, octopus legs. If you have those tied up or streamlined, then that's one less bit of drag that you have, or something.
Yeah,
that,
or you could
piece of
just
algae.
swim straight, and that'll probably take care of.
Yeah, I don't know how much drag the shoelaces are causing, unless you have the shoelaces I have that create like a little spinning motion in the water and kind of act as a propeller.
Like a propeller.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or also like bait for fish.
Yeah, I've been putting power bait on my shoes. I hope that's not going to be a problem. Caught a catfish once. Okay, so now we're going into, we've already mentioned it a few times. So if you have your trail shoes or whatever shoes that you like, and again, there's going to be no right answer. No one could say one brand or style of shoe that would work for all four of us.
Right.
So whatever we say could be 100% the opposite of what you need, and what you need could be, or it also could be exactly what we say. So there we have aftermarket DIY mods. We heard things like gators or a little piece of foam that you kind of tie your laces through that kind of helps with that. Annie, did you use that?
I tried that, yeah.
Okay. What were your thoughts on the shoe floaties?
Well, I had paired them with I actually wore them in Casco when I had to take my rock break, and they made it really
Even
hard to take
harder
my
to-
rock break.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So
probably
my
added 30
aftermarket hack for that, lesson learned, was no tie elastic cord laces. They don't
The
create
lock
that
laces
little
or whatever.
lock laces.
Yeah.
Do it. It's a great call.
Yeah.
That's a really, really smart, something easy to take on and off. I do like that if you have a tendency to get the rocky soles.
Yeah. Well, here's I'm just throwing this out there.
Okay.
This would fall into the DIY sort of sideshow, I guess.
Sideshow.
Have you guys seen these little tiny fins that
Ah,
you put
they look
on the top of your
amazing.
shoes? We saw them for the first time at our first swim run ever. It's California swim run in San Diego. These two German dudes, and we're like, look at these freaking guys. And of course, they won.
Yeah, they destroyed us.
Yeah, they were like,
Like,
it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I was like, these guys think they're like Donald Duck. Like, what's going on?
You felt like crap.
I did see a photo when I was looking through old Casco Bay photos, and someone was sitting down on the beach putting their fins on.
Yeah.
Now, to me, what second or half second per 100 that you're going to gain with your fins, and undetermined amount of like cooking your legs by kicking more, is like lost by sitting down on the beach and putting
I think
these fins on. In my opinion.
that's another like individual call. Like
Yeah.
that's that guy's probably assessing his swim ability. Maybe he's like a really bad swimmer, and
Or-
like Scott is a killer trail runner and has legs of steel. Like I think that's something you have to weigh. Like as an individual, if you're going to be kicking the whole race and then running the whole race, and that's your strength, cool. If you got some swimming skills, it's probably not the best option.
Yeah, I guess, there's those considerations and trade-offs always throughout a race too. So they're all very individual. Same with like capping down your wetsuit or anything like that.
Well,
like,
and the thing of Atala, and I'm sure every other race is like whatever you bring in to start the race with, you got to finish with it. You can't just like leave those on a
Ditch in a
beach and
bush.
just be like,
I have like a question about the German guys at your California race. Like how much propelling do those little fins actually provide? Like, did they kick the whole way?
I mean, we never saw them.
literally, we only saw their heels. Chris and I, I think we kind of even waited till most of the people went out because I'm like, well, one, I don't want to get caught up in a tether.
Well, we also chickened out. They were using a tether, and we were like, we brought our tether, but we chickened out because it turned out it wasn't mandatory. And they're like, oh, they're using a tether, and it was like, those guys are using a tether.
Super
They're
pro.
like real swim runners.
Super pro. Now, has anyone heard or experienced drilling drainage holes into the bottom of your trail shoes to make them expert swim run shoes?
I have done that, and nothing bad happened. I think they drained better, and no unwelcome stuff came in.
Do you remember what size bit you used? Like an eighth of an inch?
I think it's really small. You want to
Really
make
small.
the smallest holes possible because you don't want stuff going in.
Like a rock
Yeah.
or
So
sand or something.
yeah, so you make
Or
like
a fish.
Yeah, and if
would
you
do that.
Google that, you can see there's YouTube videos on how to make your
Like
shoes
the proper
drain.
layout. Did you do a certain design or pattern on the bottom optimized, or you just kind of went willy-nilly on it?
You put my initials on the bottom.
I
put-
love it.
A heart shape, guys.
Aww.
Oh, that's nice.
And then my initials.
Yep.
With an arrow shooting through it? Like
Yeah.
Cupid's arrow?
Yes. All of that.
Love it.
Annie, you also did another DIY hack recently with your sole, right? With your midsole.
I did.
Didn't you replace your?
Oh, yeah. The insole. Yeah.
Yes,
So I actually think this is a great thing to look for in a swimrun shoe. Like if you're shopping for a swimrun shoe, a shoe without a removable insole. So you're looking for an integrated insole, something that is not essentially a small sponge in your shoe.
Oh.
Yep.
And
Mm.
for shoes that I have had that, so like I did it for, am I allowed to name shoe models now? Are we at that
Go
point?
for it.
Yeah,
yet?
Go
we're
for it.
getting, yeah.
Okay.
We'll let it
For-
go this once.
This is
Thanks.
important.
For the Hoka Speedgo and for the Merrill All Out Crush, they had like really spongy Oops, nope. They had separate issues. The Hoka Speedgo had a really spongy insole, which I took out and replaced with nothing because it has a massive midsole and you cannot feel what's underfoot. But it really helped in the bucket test. Like it held way less water when I was in transition. And then for the Merrell All Out Crush, which is a much more minimalist sole that does have a little bit of midsole padding, but it's not very much. And you can feel every pointy rock underfoot, which, for those longer races or for technical trail that you want to bomb down and you don't want to just bruise your feet. What I did was I took a rock plate insole from, and I researched this. Can you buy a rock plate insole just as its own thing? No, I'm pretty sure you can't because I looked at it, but they come with every pair of ultra trail shoes. There's like what they call their stone guard insole. So you can choose to have a rock plate in your shoe or not if you buy an ultra trail shoe. And so if you have an ultra trail shoe or have a friend who has ultra trail shoes, they will for sure have this stone guard. And like my husband has a bunch of ultras. I've only ever needed one pair of stone guard insoles, and they're like a do-it-yourself rock plate. You don't feel the rocks. It's like a rigid plastic, does not absorb water.
Almost like an orthotic a little bit.
Nope, it's not. It's not rigid to the point where you can't flex your foot, and it doesn't have any arch support.
It's like a steel toe kind of thing. So it's like a plasticky, bendy thing.
Is it heavy? It's like stone and rock plate sound like they would sink you to the bottom of the ocean.
You're right. That's really, really like a terrible sounding thing. No, it's light. It's plastic.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, one note on rock plates, most trail shoes have them built in. So if you're hearing rock plate and you're like, oh my God, like this is a thing, most trail shoes already have them.
That would make sense.
I kind of veer away from when I read shoe reviews that have that. I'm like, I don't want that for swimrun because it just sounds like it would weigh me down. But it sounds like that's not the case.
Well, I think I'm going to try taking my insoles out now.
Yeah, you can try that. Well,
it's not rock weight. It's a rock plate.
Okay.
Yes. Well, this is good. Let's just jump right into the roundtable discussion. And Annie, you can take it away. We'll start with what shoe you're currently using and some of the things you like about it, and then your previous testing shoes. You don't have to hit every one, but if there's a couple that you want to mention, go for it, and we'll take it from there.
So unfortunately, my favorite Swimrun shoes are no longer being made. You can get them on eBay. No. I know, it's really sad. So I think the best one I found is the Merrell All Out Crush, and they have two versions of that. Their first generation was not as great as their second generation. But the second generation version, this shoe was designed for Tough Mudder races. So they were designed to drain super quickly from like wet obstacles. And they were designed to filter out fine silt so that you didn't accumulate that in your shoes. So the mesh, they drain like a dream, and they're not so minimalist that you just feel everything. So I was able to use that on a long course swimmer, and I used them for Orcas. And there was enough padding that I felt great about my feet when I did that rock plate aftermarket hack. And they have amazing grip because, again, engineered for Tough Mudders. And I put the lock laces in after I learned that my rock brake, wow, we're using the word rock a lot. After I learned that you need to be able to quickly zoom your shoe off and then zoom it back on. Mm-hmm. So with those changes to the shoe, it comes with an integrated insole. It's on the minimalist end of the spectrum. It has, I think, 4 millimeters of drop. So it's not a total flat shoe. It's just a really great, you can wear it for a sprint. You can wear it for a long course. I don't think I might not wear it for like the world championships length course, but I think it would do most long courses.
But it sounds like this shoe, you were also accumulating rocks in it though. So it wasn't like the perfect shoe. It
wasn't perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know where they came in. I think they might have come in through the collar.
Yeah, I would think so. I just looked at it. It looks like almost like it looks like a trail. Yeah, it looks like a trail runner shoe. Mm-hmm. And Spartan races, Tough Mudder, OCR, obstacle course racing, that probably could potentially be more quote unquote trendier than swim run. So that might also be a good place to kind of start your your search is like what's popular OCR style shoes.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chris, what have you been using for shoes, and what is your testing?
Well, I'm kind of a shoe guy in the sense that I have access to shoes, which is a blessing and a curse. Depends if you're asking me or my wife. So I was lucky enough to get a set of, as my first Swimrun shoes, they were the Salomon S-Lab Amphibs. So the Amphibs come in two types. There's the regular Amphib, and then there's the S-Labs, which is even more minimal. The lugs are more sort of intense. The regular Amphib just has kind of more of a regular bottom. They're designed to essentially be an amphibious shoe. So they drain really well. They are kind of on the minimal side. I convinced Chipper to get a pair. I mean, he'll tell you his story on how he came to the Amphibs. But I really liked them. I wore them for short course and long course, and they were fine. You definitely have to get used to kind of the lack of stack height. It's pretty minimal. I think it's probably like the Merrells, 4% or 4 mil.
Yeah.
But yeah, they worked really well. The laces are these sort of quick tie things where you just kind of tuck in. And besides the rock problem, they were really good shoes.
They're a little pricey though, right?
For the S-Labs, yeah, I think they were about $160 or something like that. I remember what the regular ones were.
And to go back, sorry, Annie, how much are your Merrells?
Oh my gosh, you cannot hardly get them anywhere, but you can usually get them for like $30 to $60 on eBay.
Nice.
If I don't buy you out.
Okay, cool. That's a good value. Good value.
It's a good value, but it's a fading star, unfortunately, I think.
Too bad. That's too bad. Yeah, and then the other shoe that I've used is the Speedgo Evo, which was a suggestion from the Swimrun monks that they were moving to that shoe because Chipper had a pair that he was using for trail running because they drain really well, don't have a lot of bells and whistles on it. It's a pretty streamlined shoe.
It's like a race trail shoe, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, so I used those two, and that one's fine. I used that one for Catalina, and it was kind of a non-issue. And also, I mean, rocks weren't really an issue on that course, so I wasn't really worried about getting anything in my shoes.
Yeah,
a big difference with the float, with the foam.
Yeah, well, it took some getting used to. Definitely practice with them, and it's like your feet are they're just doing their own thing. You know,
like if you weren't wearing shoes, the bottoms of your feet would be like sunburnt. Like they're kind of almost sticking out of the water. It feels.
Yeah, it was a weird position, and it was definitely mitigated by having a keel, like a really big pull buoy, which you can hear that review if you're so interested. But yeah, I mean, it just took half a swimmer practice to get used to them, and then it looked like they were going to work just fine.
Great.
I'll chime in. I've also used those two shoes, but the entry-level model, not like the S-Lab or the
Evo.
Evo. And the entry or like the base level Amphib, Salomon Amphib, has zero tread. In fact, it's like a liability, I would consider.
Boom.
It's so slippery. It's insane. It is like I have eaten shit wearing that shoe.
Wow.
And the Hoka Speedgo, I was pleasantly surprised by that one. I thought it was going to be like a big sloppy mess. And just because you don't have any ground feel in the shoe. And I tend to think that's pretty important for like rocky transitions and beach runs. But it's a good one.
Yeah, it's I mean, for trail running, it's a really great shoe. My go-to for sort of long trail runs.
Same. But it does come in. That one's $160. So
yeah, it adds
not
up.
cheap on the Evo Speedgo.
I think interestingly, Atala and Vivo Barefoot, who's the shoe sponsor for Atala, they're all about being close to nature and like literally being like even your feet are just feeling everything, you know, feel all the nature. So those shoes are super minimal. That's like barefoot running kind of thing. And the new shoe that just came out, the Tempest, it looks pretty interesting. It's all recycled and using algae biomass to give it structure, like all this crazy stuff.
Whoa.
Um, but the really interesting about that shoe, and that shoe's pretty pricey. That shoe's like $220, something like that. It's the sole is designed. It's some new compound. Essentially, works really well on dry, sort of turfy stuff, and really sticky on wet stuff. So it essentially has both properties that you'd want in a shoe. Like it's grippy when it needs to be, and then it's,
Yeah. I
not
think
sliding
they said
around.
it was some custom compound from Michelin.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sounds like a secret recipe.
It does
Yeah.
seem very like there's some serious intellectual property tied up in that
Yeah.
stuff. So,
Just-
Brooke, what? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to have a little bit of a counterpoint on the Hokas because I don't want everyone thinking, oh, they all like Hokas and going out and buying a Hoka. Because I'm kind of a Hoka hater. And so I think it just means you have to really think about your foot, your stride, your style of running, and it's going to be different for everybody. But I have personally like a chronic kind of Achilles tendonitis on one side. And I thought the Hokas were going to be great because they have a little bit of that rocker bottom. They have a little bit more drop, lots of cushion, obviously. And I personally like felt my pain immediately on running in them. So I have this new pair of Hokas that have been ran in for the past, I've been running in them like 2 to 3 times a week for the past like 3 weeks to break them in. And they're still
it's just not working.
not working for me. So if anybody wants to buy them,
What
contact.
are
And
they?
they also have like tiny little goat feet like me because I wear a size 6. Or your kids maybe, let me know. But yeah, so just kind of like think about, I kind of like going back to our original point of like what works for you on trail runs, I think is a really good starting place. For me, I started with, after that sloshy mess with the Brooks shoe at our first swim run, I got some Innovates. I don't know where I got on the Innovate train. I think I read like, that World of Swimrun.
Yeah, you read this.
Guides.
You got on the same train
I think
that
I
Chipper
read the same
got on.
article, but we had.
Yeah, I think I was just like, what shoe do I need? And they have the great, that great graph, and it just seems super informative. And didn't they say Innovate X Talon 200 were like the best swim run shoe or something?
I literally
They did.
pulled up my Amazon cart so I
And
could
Chipper
specifically
bought those.
mention them.
Yes, they did because this review that Chipper read said they were the best, so he bought them.
So
And he
that's
was
what I
like,
did.
you should get them. And I was like, no, I'm getting some for free, yo. Like, I'm not paying for shoes.
Like, yeah, that's a good point.
Well, for us who don't have shoe hookups, I got those and I loved them. And then I loved them so much, I got them again the next year. And then I realized that the type I love are also not being made anymore.
No.
And so I like bought 6 pairs off of eBay
Nice.
for like $45.
Nice.
Wow. And Brooke,
And going through those.
what is your current swim run shoe? And then what's kind of, you mentioned the trail thing, like what's your go-to if you just go out on a 10K trail run in the
it's the-
Pac Northwest?
the
Is the
Innovate.
Innovate?
I wear my Innovates, for
Okay.
everything. I wear my Innovates. I wore them on a 18-mile trail run the other day. Like they're
Nice.
great on long runs. So I also got the Hokas because I got in a little bit of a panic mode about Worlds when I heard your interview with who was that was talking about the shoes? Was it the Swimrun monks?
It's the monks.
Yeah. So when I heard them say, oh, then you have this half marathon, 7/8 of the way into the race, I was like, oh shit, I don't know if my Innovates are going to work. And so I was like, I need some more cushion. And then that's when I kind of got on the Hoka train, but not impressed.
And do you have any mods on those Innovates or just as
No,
is?
I just wear them straight up.
Wow.
What was your issue with them?
So I, like Chris, it sounds like we actually looked at the same
It was
article.
the same article.
I have the actual model up here. Innovate X Talon 212 trail running shoe.
200s.
Oh, so that maybe the 12 part is the problem. But so anyway, we took these to the pool because Chris and I showed up at the gym pool, the one that also puts their pool temperature to 91 degrees. But
For water aerobics.
Oh,
yeah,
Oh
it
my
was dangerous.
It
But
was
anyway,
dangerous.
we showed up and we had our swim like the Speedos on, but then we were wearing our tennis shoes.
Yeah, we just looked like
Which
we were
is
going to
just-
jump into
just
the,
super silly,
the water
as you
aerobics
might
class.
imagine. And I got in, and I like immediately my feet just sunk like I had them tied together. And I was like, well, this is weird. So I took them off, and Chris and I both dunked our shoes in water, and we just held it up. And he had the S-Lab amphibs, and water was just like pouring out of these. Mine, not a drop was coming out.
Yeah.
And I mean, it'd be great for doing the shoey, you know, where you put the beer and you drink it out of the shoe. It'd be perfect because there wouldn't be any beer loss. But it also, there's no water loss. So I actually returned those ones, and I went with the amphib
Non-S-Lab.
the non-S-Lab Solomons, which were probably, I think REI had a sale or something. They were maybe around $100. I thought those were really good. I wore them in Casco Bay, but I'm a little bit of a bigger guy. Like I probably race somewhere around 190 to 200 something pounds. So after Casco Bay had like 18 miles of running or something, my dogs were kind of barking at the end of that. And I was like, yeah, I need something. Like I couldn't hack it in a longer race. Like my feet were hurting by the end. And then, as Chris mentioned, the Swimrun monks, we were chatting with them, and they're like, we've actually been using these Evo Speedgos. So Evo is this different type of upper material that's like a really, really tight mesh. But I found that it sheds water really well. They float super well. So I was able to kind of modify some of my other kit. I used to race in like the Zone 3 shin floaties, but because the flotation on the Evo Speedgos was so pronounced, I just ditched those because I had the keel and then my floaty shoes.
Yeah, at some point it's just too much floating.
So, and I like them. They're black with neon green, so I think they look kind of cool, and they kind of match the Arc wetsuit that I have. So
a couple things about the 212 versus the 200 Innovate. The 200 are a little bit more on the minimalist side.
Okay.
They're like they're a 3 millimeter drop, and the 212 is like I'm seeing like a 6 millimeter drop.
Okay.
They weigh about the same.
They also had these crazy lugs, 8 millimeter lugs, so it felt like a soccer cleat almost.
Yeah.
Like they were really spiky.
Yeah, and that's where I was like, if there's road, or even just well-packed dirt road, fire road,
it would have been a problem. Yeah.
So fun. Yeah.
I concur. Is there any shoe that anybody is wanting, like what's on your next list to test out? I know personally the Tempest, the Vivo Barefoot Tempest, I'm very curious about. That's probably one of the bigger swim run specific shoes that is coming out.
Yeah. I'm excited to try. Have you guys heard of the VJ brand of shoes?
No.
Oh, yeah. It's VJ Shoes, and their iRock shoe has been like touted in multiple reviews, and I've seen people wearing it as like the best shoe for swim run. Obviously, as we discussed, that's super subjective because the best shoe for swim run is the best shoe for you, whoever you are. But we've been talking about sort of like the polar ends of the minimalist maxi spectrum, like Hokas on one end and Innovates and Vivos on the other end. And the VJs look like they offer something sort of in between and are made for obstacle course racing and swim runs. So I'm excited to try a pair of those. I think that might be on my wish list.
I am on their site right now, VJShoesUSA.com, and they do specifically call out swim run.
Right.
The iRock 3. Yeah.
Which, of course, is like I'm already in love. You've said swim run. You know that there is swim run.
Yeah. You're aware of the sport, so that's a +1.
Was it one word? Yes.
Yep.
It is one word. Yep. Roka should take notes. But anyway, what else? There's also this. I think I'm going to butcher this name. It's not Solomon. It's like Salming.
Oh, Salming. Yep.
Now I've seen a couple European swim runners wear those at Catalina. I noticed they were also seemingly mostly European, so it must be kind of like a more Euro specific shoe. Has anybody tried those out?
I have not. They looked narrow. I'm not sure. That's super subjective. Don't even listen to that.
Just bleep that out or something.
Yeah.
Don't even listen.
That's definitely something I look for. I have like a Flintstone foot, like a wide toe box. So I think that's another reason why I liked the Innovates, because they have a little bit wider, and the Hokas do too, actually.
Well, I think to add some sort of anecdotal stuff, when we interviewed Beacon Blake from Team Envol Baywatch, I think is what their name is now. They were big fans of Ultra, and they tried a whole bunch of shoes before they settled on Ultra. And I think Blake was using one that was super, super minimal.
It looked like he was wearing a sock.
Yeah,
like it was
very
it was
meshy.
a Vivo Barefoot minimal.
It was very meshy.
Yeah.
And then I think, I can't remember what Blake was wearing. I think it was like the Lone Peaks or the Superiors or something, which is just like their regular standard trail shoe. And he said having no problems with it. So, if you got some Ultras in the house.
I've tried Ultras as well. And I had a sloppiness problem. Like that thing that you said at the beginning, Chris, I don't know if we ever hammered down a metric for it, but the like slushy sloppy metric was high on Ultras for me, just because there's a lot of space in that toe box. And it's good to have space in your toe box. Like it allows your foot mechanics to function well and like stabilize you on uneven terrain. But some splaying is good, but you also want to be the driver of your shoe. Like you don't want your foot to just like fly around in there and the shoe to go willy-nilly. And I found that Ultras were like that for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried Ultras, not in the swimrun context, and they weren't for me.
I am trying to think of the name. I think Hoka Jaws is
that's
a
a pretty
model
popular one.
That's pretty popular.
I know Lars uses that one, and a couple other folks use the Jaws. Now that has the same upper as the Evo Speedgo because it's the Evo Jaws. And then that one's a little bit, it's almost kind of like a blend between the Innovate lug style that are kind of like more, I'm going to just call it like pronounced like soccer style, maybe not 8mm lug, but maybe like a 6 or a 4. But with that kind of Evo upper that allows for a lot of, and not the Hoka super maximal, running on clouds thing. It's like kind of a quote unquote normal shoe for a Hoka.
Yep.
Annie, how do you feel like just coming from like kind of the PT perspective? Because I think about this a lot when you're choosing between minimalist versus something like the Hoka running on clouds. Like, everyone talks about Hoka running on clouds, but for me, it feels like I'm running on a trampoline, and my ankle stability feels what's gonna give first, which is why I think they hurt my ankle. And so I think like an important consideration, like, and maybe we could put this on the Swimrun Labs website, actually, just some like little tests you can do to kind of measure your ankle stability and your foot strength, and like, and if you would be good in a more supportive running on clouds kind of shoe versus a more minimalist.
Well, you know what? And also going the other way too, I think some of these super minimal shoes, like if you're not ready, I mean, this is what Asher was mentioning in his episode was, these shoes aren't for everyone. You have to learn how to run in these things. So if you just put on like a barefoot minimal shoe and you go out and try to run 10 miles, like
you're going to be hurt.
That's a bad idea.
And there's like specific things you can do to strengthen your foot for minimalist running.
I honestly think that the most sensible thing to do when you're talking about minimalist footwear is consider that you need to train to wear that shoe and do just like a graded approach to your training volume. In the same way that you do that, use a graded approach to the shoe. So if you were new to running, you would start with maybe, runs of a distance of like a mile. And if you're new to minimalist footwear, if you don't want to set yourself back with injury, consider starting in a similar graded progression.
That's very sound advice, I would say.
Yeah, everyone do
Can I shout another one from the injury prevention soapbox?
Yeah.
Please.
So there's an awesome study out. I consider this like the lowest hanging fruit of running injury prevention. And it's a great study out of Luxembourg. There's a researcher named Malisu who specializes in the study of running shoes and injury risk factors. And the decrease in injury risk factor if a runner or a swim runner, as we may be, trains in 2 different models of a shoe injury rate can reduce by up to 39%. And that is not hard to do. So I would say, going back to that overarching zoomed out perspective of like, there is no perfect swim run shoe, use 2 and you'll reduce your injury rate by 39%.
Yeah. I've been doing that intuitively, just partly because I have access to shoes. So it's like I just have a bunch of different types of shoes. That sounds like a humble brag. That's not how I mean it at all. I just mean to say that I've been running in a lot of variety of shoes for a while, and really, injuries aren't.
I've been doing the same too, and I think when I first started running, that was kind of something that I was like, I have to run in these ones to break these shoes in, and not, so my feet can get used to them and callus in the right areas and stuff.
Yeah,
but,
someone said I overpronate, so I can only use.
And I think as I've been doing that, using multiple shoes, but without the double-blind, peer-reviewed scientific study that we have, so I think that's probably a good tip. Like I have a couple different shoes that I like to mix up on the road, and then a couple different trail runs depending. So variety is the spice of life.
And for bringing it back to swim run, I mean, what a great addition to your toolkit where you have maybe a couple shoes that you're comfortable swim running in, and it just depends on the terrain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the course for sure. Nice.
Well,
Man, I think
this was good.
Pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, we'll try to put all this in show notes.
Yeah. We'll definitely, we will link to any studies or anything that the Swimrun Labs mentioned. We'll be sure to link to that and any shoe reviews that they have there, and we will try to get most of what we talked about here, including the shoes that we're kind of currently using and the things that we've tried. And again, none of us have been paid by any of these companies to say yay or nay on said shoe.
I think that's pretty obvious at this point.
I guess,
as I say, I'm a Hoka hater. They definitely not pay me.
We shall not be paid by Hoka.
Yeah.
Brooke's been contracted by ASICS to talk shit about Hoka. So, yeah, well, awesome. And I think there's probably going to be a million questions here, and we're probably going to have forgotten a little bit of stuff. So you could reach out to us or the Swimrun Labs ladies, and we will.
Were you going to say peeps?
Yeah, people.
Please don't do that.
You can call us peeps.
Call us peeps. That's a compliment.
Hit up our peeps at the Swimrun Labs. Just go to swimrunlabs.com.
Yep.
And hit the contact button.
Exactly. Or message us through Instagram or Swimrun Labs, or you can go to Facebook and join the Swimrun Lab, and we can talk about it all in there.
Cool.
Nice.
Annie and Brooke, thank you guys so much for being on the show. This is fun. I really
Thanks
enjoyed
for having us again. We're glad we got invited back. We weren't sure if we were going to make it.
Yeah, this is take a seat on the couch like Carson, the comedian that opens the set. If you get Johnny Carson, if he invites you to the couch, that would make your career.
Oh, yeah, if he invites you back, yeah.
I'm making references that are 40, 50 years old.
Yeah.
I know, and you're the youngest of all of us.
Exactly.
We get that.
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to go back to watching Andy Griffith. So,
or Moana.
Yeah, anyway, that was the Swimrun Shoe
Roundtable.
AKA
the Shoedown.
The Shoedown.
And thanks.
Woo. I like the woo.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Low Tide Boyz, a swim run podcast. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review on iTunes if you're so inclined.
You can also sign up for a newsletter at lowtideboyz.com. That's boys with a Z. And check out our meme page at The Low Tide Boyz on Instagram. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, drop us an email at lowtideboyz@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Writing Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of our swimrun activities, hobbies, and other bullshit we do.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
And then a run.
And then another swim.
Then another run.
And then another swim.
And then run to the finish line. And just keep going until you're done.
Yes, or
run to the finish line.
Or run to the car.